All right, Margie, save for possibly Gallagher, no comedian loomed larger over the 80s than Eddie Murphy. He basically saved Saturday Night Live in 1980. 1983, we were all probably inappropriately doing his jokes on the playground, doing our best. I got an ice cream impersonation.
You don't have no ice cream. You didn't get none. You didn't get none.
Then in 1984, his biggest and probably most beloved movie came out, Beverly Hills Cop. Now, 60-some-odd years later, Axel F arrives on Netflix. Does it recapture the magic? Tune in after this break to find out. All right, Marge, I mentioned how huge of a star Eddie Murphy was back in the day. Probably youngsters we don't even have stars like that today because everything's so fragmented, right? Like instead of 3 channels, there's 3 billion YouTube channels.
Right.
But he was huge. What's your first memory or your earliest memory of Eddie?
I mean, my first memory was, of course, Saturday Night Live. We got to stay up a little bit later, which is always memorable as a kid. I remember Gumby. I remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. I forget what
Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood, I think?
Mr. Robinson's Neighborhood. I remember Who Shot Buckwheat. I remember all that. And I remember us watching together.
That's what I remember too. Probably Who Shot Buckwheat, which is one of the greatest Saturday Night Live long skits of all time. I just remember when he came on Saturday Night Live, my brother would come home from partying. We'd all gather around the TV and see what Eddie Murphy was going to do, you know. And I definitely clearly remember Buckwheat getting shot. Horrifying.
Surely everyone knows by now that Buckwheat is dead.
That guy always said he was going to shoot Buckwheat.
Well, I had to kill him. My dog told me he was the Antichrist.
All right, Margie, did you get to see Beverly Hills Cop at the theater, or did you have to wait for VCR like I did?
We had to rent it. We definitely rented it. We rented it numerous times, and then my sister finally recorded it like we did on the double tapes. Don't tell the FBI.
They'll be knocking on the door.
Sorry, sis. Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F. Plot-wise, it pretty much follows that same formula. Not beat for beat, but they do a really good job getting it very, very similar to the first one. They throw in a lot of the original cast members.
If we're going to do Beverly Hills Cop, the only way it could happen was if all of us were in it.
And they also, if you noticed, threw in a lot of the original soundtrack.
Some of them get a little bit of a remix, yeah, but it is a lot of the same original soundtrack, and even the Neutron Dance.
Yes, great Pointer Sisters song.
Great song.
Highly recommend you guys go out there and take a listen to it, and you'll be dancing. I'm telling you, you'll be dancing along.
Other than the originals, you know, Judge Reinhold and Paul Reiser and all those guys, we've got Josh Gordon-Love-Hewitt-Levitt. He plays another cop who's kind of like his new young partner here. Bronson Pinchot is back as Sergey, best known as Mr. Toomey from the Langoliers.
Mr. Toomey, are you listening to me?
Of course I'm listening to you, and I know what happened to everybody here, these stupid, lazy people.
I would say it's probably his most celebrated role.
I believe he was on A Perfect Strangers.
He'll always be Mr. Toomey to me.
The Langoliers got them.
All right, so what goes on here?
Well, I mean, I was just saying, like, it follows the original really closely. There's some dirty cops, you know, going on. There's some drugs going on. There's some warehouses here and there, and high-speed chases and all that stuff. And, of course, Eddie Murphy in the middle of it being a little bit crass, a lot funny. It's a little bit of a sweet movie. It's got a little bit of a family drama in there. If you like the first one and you want to kind of relive it a little bit, this one you're gonna find out we're right back in Beverly Hills again, doing it all again. We haven't learned a thing.
It's definitely nostalgia bait. I would say it's a mediocre kind of crime thriller, but that's not the reason we're watching it, right? The reason we're watching it is to see Eddie Murphy talk fast and be a smart ass and be funny, and he is. There is this sort of thing thrown in there with his estranged daughter. It's that old trope.
There are some things that I need to say to you that haven't been said that I think I should say.
Just for once, Hollywood, can we have a movie or something with a father-daughter or father-son, father-anybody relationship that's actually good and not estranged? Or I've got to get over what my dad did to me. He yelled at me one time. I was like, whatever. Jeez Louise, Hollywood. My God!
Okay. So yeah, so very satisfying. If you did like the original Beverly Hills Cop, I think you're gonna like this one. I do have to say, kudos to Eddie Murphy's stunt double, whose young athletic ankles stood in for a lot of stuff Eddie Murphy
Action
was
shots.
supposed to be doing. And then we'd see like literally a shot from the upper ankle almost to the shin, then to the bottom of the foot. So like this would be the shot. And then this would, just imagine this if you would.
Look, those are not
This is Eddie Murphy. This is Eddie Murphy like running through. Wah! Wah! He's kicking people. And that's what we saw. That's what we saw.
those are not the ankles of a 63-year-old man, trust me. Going up and down those stairs. Eddie.
Jumping over things, you know. So, you know, kudos to you. And I think it also ended in a really satisfying shootout. They threw everything but the kitchen sink in there.
I will say this much about it. It's not going to make you hate the originals. Like so many remakes and reboots now make you think, oh my God, that just ruined the original for me. No, I mean, it is what it is. Again, it's nostalgia bait, but it's fun. It's not bad. Axel F, I give you an Axel B-, B, maybe even a B+.
I'm going to give it an Axel B. Axel F gets an Axel B in my book.
Lady Taters, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.
Yes.